With us are Josh Rydell, the incumbent, and his opponent, Felicia Shuman Newkirk. This is in seat E, or District E in Coconut Creek. It'll be on the March 11th ballot. We'll talk about the district in just a moment. It's a nonpartisan race, open to all voters who live in District E. It's right there on your voter registration card. I'm happy that both candidates agreed to participate in this discussion. With me today is Dan Sweeney, Deputy Opinion Editor. I'm going to begin. My first question is going to be for Felicia Newkirk. Thank you for joining us. You're running for City Commission for the first time, I believe. Have you run before?
No, this is my first time ever running for a seat.
Okay. I know it's a big undertaking. As we sit here and talk, and it's the morning of January 29th, something really important took place yesterday in Fort Lauderdale as it affects Coconut Creek. Ms. Newkirk, can you briefly summarize what happened yesterday in Broward that affects the city of Coconut Creek and its future?
Yes, I attended the county commissioner meeting yesterday. It was very interesting. A lot of support came out. Our residents showed up. Over 30 people had spoke, almost 30. It was a lot of officials from Deerfield, and there was other officials from Coconut Creek as well, the commissioners who came out to speak, and the residents. The Monarchs landfill, I'm behind with what happened. The Monarchs landfill started, this issue, before I got in this, wanted to run for the seat. But by my understanding is, and I also, before I get started saying, I also went out there to the Monarchs landfill and took a tour. But when you take a tour, it's different when you don't have the proper documents in front of you, or, I don't have a email where, the waste management department can send me emails and give me updates on what's going on. So when I got to the meeting, I discovered a lot of things. I heard the mayor say something about the master plan. The master plan will be completed in August. So the meeting, they didn't decide on it. They didn't vote. They didn't continue to vote yes. So they stopped the voting, and everything going to proceed in February.
Okay.
I really don't have much to say about it because I haven't had a chance to analyze the whole situation. Because I'm a visual person, I like to analyze the situation before I put too much input into it.
Okay. Sorry to interject there, but I want to encourage both candidates to be concise. I've got a follow-up question here. I guess I'm asking for a yes or no question, Ms. Newkirk. Yes or no, did the county commission make the right decision yesterday?
Yes, they made the right decision to postpone it because they needed more information in order to make their decision.
Okay. All right. Josh Rydell, you were there yesterday. You spoke. I saw your testimony. Other people from the city of Coconut Creek also spoke, as did people from a lot of other municipalities. What is your bottom line reaction to what the county commission did?
I think I said this at one of the previous meetings. I've spoken every single one of them. This is not by right. This is by privilege. Waste management doesn't have the right to do any of this. And the county has the ability of really holding their feet to the fire to say no. I think yesterday was a cop-out, candidly. And I think it gave some of the yes votes to support this the cover to say, we're going to wait till the Solid Waste Authority of Broward County rules on it. I'm blessed to sit as an executive member of the Solid Waste Authority. So I think it delays it. I think that our current mayor, Beam Fur of the county, really is advocating for this. And I candidly don't understand it. So do I think they made the right decision yesterday? I think the answer is no. They should have voted it down yesterday. But if I had to take a silver lining out of it, I look forward to the opportunity of chiming in on the Solid Waste Authority at our next workshop, which is next week, and getting the consensus of the executive committee to actually take a much more forceful stand than Mayor Ryan, who's the chair of the Solid Waste Authority, was able to recite to the county commission yesterday.
In your remarks at the public hearing yesterday, you kept using the word partnership. And this is my interpretation of what you said, Josh. You characterized Waste Management as being a pretty bad partner. They refused to take part in a recent study of the waste stream that goes into that landfill, which is, we're going to get a little bit more technical, I guess, but elaborate on why you feel the way you do about Waste Management.
If all the cities in the county come to a table and say, let's figure this out for the next 40 years, which we need to do, Mayor Ryan's comments were astute and correct. then we have to look at moving forward. We have to work collaboratively. Partnership was a play because they kept saying capacity. That was the reason I used that term. But the partnership aspect is if the consultants for the Solid Waste Authority are going to spend taxpayer money to do an analysis, the biggest player in the room says we're not going to participate. So we got a brilliant analysis of what you and I throw out in our garbage, what commercial businesses and restaurants and industrial throw in our garbage, from the curb to the landfill. And the biggest player in town says, no, you're not coming to our landfill. You're not looking at our trucks. So that is the definition of being a bad partner, just like telling the county a decade ago they're not going to go higher on record and asking to go higher down the road.
Okay. I'm an editorial writer, so it's okay for me to have opinions, and I've got a few. I mean, the Broward County Commission is very capable of kicking the can down the road on almost any issue. And that's what they did yesterday. Am I right?
They did it in a what I believe is a disingenuous way. 30 days is not enough time to get a comprehensive statement from the Solid Waste Authority that is from a number of elected officials. We're meeting formally twice in the deadline the county commission gave us. And if you look at the details, they asked for the consultants to be there. And that's really unique because you're going to see the mayor, which I believe, and maybe he sees this before that meeting, maybe he doesn't, is going to ask the question of, do we need a landfill? And you know what the answer to that question is going to be? Yes. So he's going to take that line out and use that to continue to advocate for his point with his colleagues. Luckily,
Okay.
Hogan, I think, sees through that.
Yeah, very briefly, based on what happened yesterday, what happens in 30 days, as you understand it?
There's an expectation for the they're going to put the onus back on the Solid Waste Authority to say, we have an expectation for you to chime in on this. It wasn't clear how they're going to transmit that. Mayor Ryan was listening last night. It will come up at our next, publicly noticed meeting. So there was a little lack of clarity on how that's going to happen. But my belief is they have an expectation that the Solid Waste Authority, through either the executive director or Mayor Ryan in his capacity as chair, or the consultants, will be at the next meeting to give their opinion on this agreement, both more specifically in regarding the land use change, those 24 acres, but also the height expansion.
Okay. I'm going to switch to a different topic, unless my colleague Dan Sweeney might have another question on the whole landfill situation, which is we could spend the whole hour discussing nothing but this easily.
Yeah. Not on this particular subject. A couple of questions, but if you've got a line, then fire away.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Newkirk, how many times would you say you've been to a Coconut Creek City Commission meeting?
Well, I watch it a lot. If I miss a meeting, I watch it online when they upload the media on coconutcreek.net. So I've been to the meeting maybe about 2 times, but I'm always attending the county commission meeting as well, because I also do work in as a public official with my significant other on that end as well. So I came to Coconut Creek meeting maybe two times, but I always watch it online.
Would you say generally, from what you see, that the city commission performs professionally, and do they work in a collegial atmosphere? Do they all pretty much get along with each other or not?
Yeah, they get along with one another. It'd be a few disagreements, just like any other commissioner board members, city commissioner board members, commissioners, city commissioners. There's always a disagreement. Everybody's gonna always, disagree with, some things from time to time. But as them being professional, they're very professional.
Okay. They're very professional. I did find some minutes of a meeting that you attended last fall, I think it was. You did attend and spoke out on an amendment to the city charter, which was approved, that changes the way the future elections in Coconut Creek will be conducted. Did you vote for or against that charter amendment? Do you remember?
I voted for it.
Why?
Because it's important that the citizens have your rights to vote the mayor in, and have options in the community as taxpayers to make their own decision, because it's part of the democratic process. When the citizens have their rights to vote, it just makes sense. And I noticed that a lot of the municipalities in Broward County is already doing it. And Coconut Creek was one of the few. So I thought that it was very important that they exercise that, the citizens exercise their rights and, join the other municipalities and do the same thing as well.
Ms. Newkirk, for how long have you lived in District E?
For 2.5 years.
Okay. So this, am I right in terms of understanding time? Is this the first time you're voting in a city election?
In Coconut Creek, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously you voted last year. Okay. Yep. Describe to the uninitiated, describe to somebody from Pompano Beach or Margate, describe District E. Where is it and what's in it?
Well, District E is it's a good community. I just see some things that's missing in the community, and I spoke with a lot of citizens, and based on what the citizens told me, the resources are very limited. CoconutCreek.net, on their website, it has a resource area where the citizens can click on several links to get resources. But this is the thing, the resources that's on CoconutCreek.net, the link are sending them to 1-800 numbers, and maybe the state websites, for an example, if the citizens need affordable living, I feel like they should be redirected and have more direct contact to social services entities in Broward County. They shouldn't have to click on the website and figure, in other words, in another term, figure it out themselves. It should be resources displayed on CoconutCreek.net where the citizens can reach out to these social services within Broward County and get immediate services, and they're not getting it.
Okay.
And not only with affordable living, the other resources on there, that same particular page, some of those are not updated and they're discontinued. So I get it, that they have that on the website for them to call and, do their, speak to, hopefully they can get through to somebody. But in this case, it got to get better where they can reach out to all these entities that we have in Broward County to get the resources that they need. When they need help with light bills, FP&L,
Got it. Okay.
they should have direct contact information to LIHEAP. It's a lot of entities in Broward. They shouldn't have to be directed to, hard to get to, hard to reach entities within Florida.
Got it. Just a quick Coconut Creek 101 type question, Ms. Newkirk. What's the approximate size of the current city budget? What's the city budget in Coconut Creek? How much is it?
The city budget in Coconut Creek, I haven't found out what the recent city Coconut Creek budget is. I have to look that information up. I'm not clear what their budget is, but I know most of their budget is going into that Main Street project, and it's not going into the affordable living. It was in March of 2022.
I'm sorry.
It was
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt, Ms. Newkirk. We'll get back to all that. It was a simple question, and we don't think it's raising the bar too high to expect a candidate for public office to know what the size of the budget is in the city they're running for office. I found it online, just doing a little check here before we went on the air. Josh Rydell, what's the size of the city budget?
About $220 million.
Okay. Let me back up a step. I asked Ms. Newkirk about the charter change, which changed the way the city is going to hold future elections. I'll simplify it at the risk of oversimplifying, and I don't want to do that. There's a 5-person governing board in the city of Coconut Creek, a mayor and 4 commissioners. At present, they're all elected from districts, right? No?
Yes and no. In your intro, it was a little clouded. So let me just be clear.
All right, sure.
There's A, B, C, D, E, 5 commissioners, 5 districts elected citywide. So it is citywide voting. It's not district voting. Like, for example, I know you guys have always covered Fort Lauderdale district voting, some of the other municipalities, citywide voting. So we are a citywide voting city. So 5 elected officials, and we, amongst the 5 of us, we elect the mayor administratively for lack of a better term, on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, and I should have gotten that right, but we're looking at a lot of candidates in a lot of cities. So you have to live in a prescribed district, but you run citywide, right?
Yes, sir.
The change that was made, that was approved by the voters, as Josh Rydell has just said, will be that in the future, the mayor will be chosen directly by the voters, not as a vote by the commissioners. And the mayor, am I correct? The future mayors will serve a 4-year term, right? It won't rotate annually.
So yes, there will be a 4-year. There will be a mayor elected to not only run the meetings, obviously spearhead and be the voice of the city. That will be a 4-year term. But after that first election cycle, the other 4 seats will be 4-year terms to keep it staggered, but for that first reorganization election.
Right.
Hey,
And as part of this amendment,
quick clarification there. If you give a mayor and 5 people, is that going to give you a 6-member commission, like an even numbered commission?
No. So the redistricting board is going to have to get impaneled. So it's going to become 4 districts and an elected mayor.
Okay, because there's one other city I can think of that has an even membered commission, and it's frequently a disaster. So
I'm familiar with the city.
it's your neighbor, Pompano Beach, of course. Yeah. And it's prescribed in the charter amendment, the 2027 election, that is the election scheduled 2 years from now, has been canceled. There won't be an election. And instead, 2 city commissioners, John Brody and Jeffrey Wasserman, who were elected in 2023, will serve a 6-year term. And the next big city election is in 2029. Have I got that right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Josh, why is it a good thing? Why is it better to have the mayor elected by the people than chosen by the commissioners?
Listen, I think there's been a trend. I think if you look at Broward County 40, 50 years ago, a majority of these cities, Pembroke Pines, Pompano, they all rotated the seat administratively, or, they did a reorganization meeting. Certain cities, Oakland Park, Dania, they do it. If you get the most votes, you get the title for the next year or two. So I think it's important for a couple prongs. In this day and age, for the business community, for our residents to have a direct voice, a direct point of contact. I think also the consistency of how an individual, whoever that may be, effectively runs a meeting. So I think there's inherent benefits to having an elected mayor for your residential communities, for your business communities, for your industrial communities, because I also think that creates an economic development component. Very tricky sometimes, because I was blessed to serve, 2 years in a row, a year ago. And you build relationships, you draw on businesses, you do these certain things that benefit the city, then it changes. And there's a perception, not correct, because we're a city manager form of government, to that these businesses want to talk to the mayor, or a resident wants to talk to the mayor. So I think it changes the dynamic a little bit, but I think it ultimately benefits the residents of the city.
Okay. I've got a biographical question for Ms. Newkirk. Your resume and your questionnaire, Ms. Newkirk, said that for a brief period, you've done a lot of different things in your life. And for a brief period in 2023, you were a teacher in the Broward County Public School District. I've got 2 specific questions. Where did you teach school, and why did you stop teaching?
Well, I was doing long-term. I was a long-term teacher. I started out with Kelly, substituting throughout Broward County. With Kelly, you can go anywhere in Broward County and teach. At one particular school at Lauderhill Paul Turner, I had been just substituting there for like a year, and built a relationship with the principal. And then when I came back in that school year, 2023, she asked me, will I cover for a classroom for 2 months? So I covered for a classroom for 2 months as a teacher, and was full-time until the teacher came back from off of FMLA.
And what was the name of that school again?
Lauderhill Paul Turner Elementary
Lauderhill Paul
School.
Turner, okay. Even, am I correct? Even to be a substitute teacher in Florida, you've got to be certified by the state, correct?
No, if you have your bachelor's degree, they'll give you time, if they hire you, to get the teacher's certificate.
Okay. Was that a good experience for you?
Yes, actually it was. I learned how to do a lot of things. Create, their report cards, their intern reports. I was at the SAC meetings with the principals and the teachers. So it was a good experience. I learned a lot from it and thinking about picking it back up.
I want to refer to something on your website, Miss Newkirk, and ask you about it, and also I'm going to ask Josh Rydell about it. You said, and I'm sure it's a statement that just about everybody would agree with, that Coconut Creek needs more affordable housing, affordable living, as you called it. And you are, and I'm quoting from your campaign website here, that Coconut Creek has, quote, too many luxury developments. Can you give us an example of that, Ms. Newkirk?
Correct. Yes. For an example, they only have one affordable living here, and that's called the Banyan Pointe. And that apartment complex, you can get maybe a 2-bedroom for under $1,000. But I noticed that I found on March the 23rd, 2022, Coconut Creek had a plan that was drafted by the State Housing Initiative Partnership, SHIP, and LHAP. They're all affiliated with HUD, under HUD umbrella. They were supposed to start a plan in 2022 and ended in 2020. In March of 2022, it's supposed to start and end in April of 2022. They were supposed to come up with a place to put these affordable housing development, and they haven't yet started on it. The last I heard, it was supposed to be one off of Wilds Road, west of Wilds Road, and it hasn't even started. We need more affordable living in Coconut Creek. The residents, they love Coconut Creek, the ones who work here, but it's so sad by talking to them that they can't afford to live here, and they really wish they can.
Okay. I'm going to ask Josh Rydell. The facts, as Ms. Newkirk has just laid them out, was that an accurate portrayal she just provided?
I mean, she talks about SHIP. I mean, the city's been a recipient of SHIP grant funding, and that does tie directly into affordable housing projects. And it's a little clouded, but the answer is, I don't know where to start with that, but I guess I'll start with yes. I mean, I don't think there's only one affordable housing project in the city. There's more than that. I mean, we're developing a project right now with mandated affordable housing carve-outs in it, which is the Main Street Design District, which is a pretty exciting thing, which I'll note is by permission over 10,000 dwelling units that we've carved down to a little over 2, and a mandate percentage of those is going to be affordable housing. Now, what's also, what cities are struggling with is the Live Local Act. Is there going to be an affordable housing component there? One of the largest independent, it's called the Foundation for Independent Living. It's a special needs foundation that has apartment complexes under the affordable guise, is in Coconut Creek. So we actually have a multitude of apartment complexes in our south end of the city to support the Foundation of Independent Living, because what we forget sometimes when we talk about affordable housing, and this is a component that Coconut Creek is very invested in, is special needs housing actually falls under affordable housing. There's a lot of different components under affordable housing, but to reference SHIP, we have received SHIP grants. The city has continued to promote in development mandated affordable housing percentages.
I heard Ms. Newkirk mention one particular complex, Banyan something. What is that?
Banyan Point is an apartment complex in the south end of the city.
Is she correct? I believe she said you could get a 2-bedroom there for less than $1,000 a month.
I haven't looked currently at the rental rates of Banyan Point. I'm extraordinarily familiar with the rental rates across the city. I've actually worked with people where Ms. Newkirk lives that have gotten those notices on the door where they're trying to raise the rent at a 2.2 over $1,000. So we've aggressively fought for people trying to get rental vouchers and things like that. But that's a legislative issue, right? So that's part of our legislative agenda, dealing with how we deal with Tallahassee and the fallout. But that's what I believe is a true regional issue.
Projects, places that have been around Coconut Creek for a long time, the township, Centura Park. Are there rental units in these complexes, or is this all owner-occupied stuff?
Well, absolutely. There's some portions of that. Centura Park is in a rental community. Could you rent a place in there? Absolutely. You can go on, realtor.com or Zillow and rent a place in the township right now. The problem with that is the rent is affordable. The association fees are what makes it unaffordable. And the association fees, and I don't want to go on a tangent here, tie directly into our legislator and what's going on with insurance premiums and insurance rates. So an affordable house right now in the township, whether it's a house, an apartment, or a condominium, exists. but an owner can't make it affordable because they're trying to make up for association mandated insurance premiums.
Okay, so it's the assessments. It's those add-on monthly fees that are really hurting people, right?
Absolutely. So it's not for a lack of their affordable housing. It's for this ultimate housing crisis that we find ourselves in.
You brought up the Main Street Design District. I want to ask about that. And again, for folks who don't live in Coconut Creek who might be watching this interview, this is may not be familiar. So I heard Sandy Welch, the mayor, say at a December commission meeting that she expressed, I would say, frustration with the slow pace of some elements of the Main Street Design District and about maybe being a little bit more aggressive with the developer. I hope I'm characterizing it correctly. I want to ask you, do you remember that? Are there issues, Josh, with the Main Street project remaining on schedule?
So I mean, I don't have frustrations. So let's be clear with that. I think I disagree with some of my colleagues in the fact about, are there frustrations? We're talking ultimately a $1 billion development. You got to do these things right. And the problem is, if you look at when this started in design phase, right? We're in approval phase. When you go back design phase, 2+ years, look at the difference in the climate. Concrete prices are more, construction prices are more. It's a lot more expensive. So a builder is looking to do certain things. And ultimately, we had a developer, it's actually a giant group of developers, 5 principal developers that came in with this. And what I loved about this, why I support this, is it's so pared down to the dense project it could be. This could have been a 10,000 dwelling unit, 12-story building monstrosity, which I've never supported in the original designs for Main Street. It is so pared down. It is so amenity rich. It's going to have components of affordable housing, park space, unique walkability, rideability. We've developed something great. So we got to take the time 110% to do it right. And we've had at least a good partnership with the developers up until now. And we've committed the time. If you look at minutes and you've read the minutes of our meeting, we've spent hours and hours monthly doing this to make sure it's done right, down to streets, signs, setbacks, things of that nature.
Okay. Ms. Newkirk, have you followed the progress? It's now in the approval phase. Have you followed the progress of the Main Street Design District, and what's your overall assessment of how the city's handled it?
Yes, I've been the meetings that I have watched. I followed the process. It's going to be, very expensive to purchase those units. Those units, if I believe, it's for sale. So it to me, it doesn't fit the category of affordable living. Affordable living is when a low income family is making under, per se, $50,000 a year annually, and they purchase one of those, and even if they try to purchase one of those homes, they wouldn't be eligible to purchase those $600 and something $1,000 home and get approved. They'll have to have, a good job and a good career to get those homes. But the project itself, it looks nice. It's coming along very well.
Okay. Josh Rydell, is Ms. Newkirk correct that the units that are being sold, that will be sold in the Main Street Design District, don't fit the category of affordable living, she said?
So it depends. That's a loaded question, because there's different type. There's condominiums, there's apartments, there's townhomes. There's a bunch of different. I hate to use this term, but there's a bunch of different products in there. And there's a mandate in how we've laid this forward that there is an affordable housing component in there. So it's going to happen. There will be an affordable housing component in there. And also, just so you're aware, the city offers first-time home buyer grants. And if you qualify for certain, not only state grants, but city grants, we're promoting affordable housing in our own city to allow people to be able to purchase and want to stay. So if you want to talk specifically about affordable housing denoted with $50,000 or less, that's not necessarily the definition of affordable housing. Affordable housing is a wide array, and there is 100% a component of affordable housing in the Main Street project.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a little history lesson from both of you here a little bit. Coconut Creek's been around since the mid 1960s, 1967 perhaps. Started out as a suburban. I think the original idea was that Pompano Beach was going to annex all that land where Coconut Creek is today. Instead, it became a separate municipality, and look what's happened. It's not in the city limits, but it's right next to the city limits. The gigantic landfill we've talked about, Mount Trashmore. The Florida's Turnpike runs right through Coconut Creek. The Sawgrass Expressway goes through Coconut Creek. And those are also two center points right now of concern. Josh, I think there's a public hearing today as we're speaking. I think one of the many public hearings on the Turnpike expansion is one today.
There is.
You've hired outside legal counsel in an attempt to slow or stop the Turnpike expansion. How is that going?
I mean, well, we just recently gave consensus to that. So, how's it going in terms of the litigation and that? I can't speak to that because it's so new. We've utilized lobbyists in the past. We've utilized statewide law firms to try to lobby for the right reiteration. I've gone to, I can't even tell you how many meetings trying to push for, I think if you saw it in my questionnaire, really the central reiteration, which is expand from the center. That's not what FDOT wants to do at all in terms of how they're doing it. So I don't think it's going well. I don't think the city, if FDOT was more receptive, if the Turnpike was more receptive in terms of some of the other design reiterations that could exist, I don't think we would find ourselves in more of a confrontational stance. So we're hoping we can get to a place to be, obviously expansion's necessary, but it doesn't need to all be westward. It could be central based, and not to the extent of doubling the project cost like an eastward expansion would be, due to obviously the gas lines that are buried on the east side, which is why they don't want to do the east side, even though the east side is all industrial versus the west side being residential.
Is it inevitable that the city's going to sue the Department of Transportation to try to stop this project?
You hope not. I mean, truthfully, you hope not. Just like I can say this, I hope the city's not going to sue Broward County in regarding what goes on with the landfill. I hope, and it goes back to, you said it earlier in this interview, it goes back to partnerships. I mean, if government works together and everyone's collaborative, we can move forward successfully as opposed to being in a confrontational standpoint.
Does the Turnpike expansion project in Coconut Creek require the Department of Transportation to put up these walls that sort of impede noise and dust?
That's a great question. Early, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when this was in concept and they're having public hearings, that was something the city stressed. They limited the walls. So they gave us walls in certain places. So the answer is yes and no, depending on where on the track of expansion you are. But again, that was something that had to be advocated for, as opposed to just a common sense, hey, you have a house here, let's put up a sound wall. So it has mandated, it's been constant with how the city has had to proactively advocate for our residents' health and safety ultimately.
And tell the uninitiated, Josh, why it's important to expand from the center, as you described it, rather than, I guess, at the right-of-way line. Why does that make a difference?
Just to make it easy, if you think of a road and you visualize it, and if you expand that road from the direct center and you go 4, 5, 6 feet based on the center measurement, you're not necessarily infringing as much as you would in someone's backyard or on prospective gas lines. If you look at that same road and you want to take that 8 feet and you want to put it all on one side of the road, then you're going a considerable amount with buffers and barriers where there's already residences that don't have a sound wall that are right there. Now, there's not an eminent domain issue, meaning the Turnpike's not coming in and taking people's land, but they're going to abut to it. And a huge portion of that is elderly living. A huge portion of that is an affordable housing district on Sunshine Drive. So these are homes that are going to not only be negatively affected significantly, but need a voice to speak for them.
Okay. And again, as envisioned, as proposed, is the expansion of the Turnpike by FDOT on the east side of the Turnpike or the west mainly?
The west side.
West side.
Meaning into Coconut Creek, as opposed to visually it goes through different cities as opposed to Pompano Beach. And if you know that area in Pompano from, really MLK up to the county line, it's all industrial on Pompano's side for the most part. Almost the entire tract is industrial.
Ms. Newkirk, if you're elected to the Coconut Creek City Commission on March 11th and you'd replace Josh Rydell, tell us something specific, if anything, that you would do differently than he has done regarding the expansion of the Turnpike.
The expansion of the Turnpike, with safety reasons and everything with the gas lines, I get that, the citizens have to be safe, and the other people who's not citizens that's passing through. I understand that they have to be safe as well because of the gas lines. But what I would do differently is suggest that it be higher barriers And if they have, when they're putting up the walls, and probably put some artwork on there so that the residents wouldn't be looking out of their backyard and just seeing a blank wall. They should put, some art, maybe butterflies or some different designs of that nature on the wall. And then also, the state should suggest, if the residents, after mediation, they should suggest that the residents, if they want to relocate, they should, compromise and help them with relocation and compensation.
Ms. Newkirk, can you give us, it could be an issue we haven't raised this morning, but it would help. Give us a specific issue that Mr. Rydell has taken a position on where your position is very different or the opposite. Something you disagree with him on.
Well, I feel that Joshua Commissioner Rydell is doing a great job. It's just I'm a visionary person, and some things that I noticed that needs work on. For an example, the lights that's on Lyons Road. The city was supposed to go ahead and fix those lightnings. If you start on Lyons Road from Sample all the way past the Sawgrass Expressway, and it gets bad at night when you have citizens trying to cross the street to get to the other side. It's a safety hazard. I would definitely work on more trying to get lights in the neighborhood for people who's jogging. Throughout the night, it get dark at 6 o'clock, and then it's a safety hazard, and I'll definitely jump on that first.
Okay, thank you for that. Josh, I'll let you address it. A lack of street lights on Lyons Road is what I think we just heard.
We actually had a major enhancement through some grant funding to upgrade some of those streets, but we're also a dark sky ordinance city. So, you have specifically streetlights that are not meant to illuminate the world; they're meant to illuminate the area. I don't know exactly the sections, but I'm fairly confident we have a pretty good infrastructure, specifically with all our utilities departments that we're constantly not even having our taxpayers pay for because we're going out for grant funding for improvements and additions.
What's the term you used? The dark sky what?
The dark sky ordinance. You familiar with that?
Yeah, tell us about it.
Just deals with light pollution. So for example, you can cup your lights different so you're not having undue light pollution that's going up into various forms. It's directed light. So if you're having street lights, it's specifically directed on roads and sidewalks as opposed to everything. Like you think of baseball field lights and soccer lights. It's just one of the many things we try to do in Coconut Creek to be environmentally friendly.
I've got a public safety question. Thanks for that elaboration there, Josh. This question is for you, Josh Rydell. The local news website, Tap Into Coconut Creek, has a story on it this morning. As I recall reading it, there's a serious traffic bottleneck in the afternoon at Lyons Middle School, a middle school in Coconut Creek. And there was an incident where I think the report said a motorist got agitated and brandished a gun. Nothing happened. The police did come, but what's the situation with the traffic bottleneck at Lyons Middle? I realize that's a Broward County School District property, but what can or should the city be doing about that?
I mean, at the end of the day, this has been an ongoing issue for almost my entire time in office. Mm-hmm. And just to educate, our almost entire traffic unit is on site at that school for purposes of resources every day that school's in session, directing traffic and making sure our public, our residents are safe. And that candidly is not that fair for what the Broward County School Board is doing, because we have given them solutions year after year of how to fix the traffic flow into that school so it would not create a logistical nightmare to cause the frustrations that you just mentioned. There's been, we did this for the past two superintendents have literally offered to pay as a city to help change single point entry at the school so that buses go a different way than the car line pickup. So it's not a problem. It's like pulling teeth to get the Broward County School Board to do anything. So I'm very hopeful that we're going to get there, because the resources our taxpayers are spending are tremendous just to keep that area safe. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing we do is keep our kids safe. So there is a real problem there. We've been, I've spoken at Broward County School Board meetings about it. We've talked to our district representative about it. And, much like there was an issue 6 years ago at Coconut Creek High, where the city paid for a repeater system for security because we couldn't get the school board to do it. But the city said we were going to pay for it in that situation. It took 2 years to get an agreement signed and funded. So we're trying to be, and this goes back to, I guess, the theme of the day, partnership. We're just looking for good partnerships. And I'm hopeful it'll get there at Lions Creek. It's just taking a little long, and you're seeing the result of frustration.
Remind us, who's the district school board representative for Coconut Creek? Who is it?
Nora Rupert.
Nora Rupert. Okay. I mean, I'm going to put you on the spot here a bit. I mean, she's somebody you know well, and you've been to the school board, and you interact with all the people politically in Broward. Has she been responsive to this issue, in your opinion?
Responsive in terms of coming to community meetings? Absolutely. Responsive is spearheading a bill to get this changed? No.
Okay.
You need someone to champion it, and I'll tell you why. It's not a difficult thing to do. If you two came out to Coconut Creek and I showed you very easily how you're changing literally the bus line to the pickup line, it would alleviate all problems in the area.
I think I'd like to see that. I'm not sure if there's one in Coconut Creek or not. This is another public safety related question. It's something I've written about. There's one in Margate for sure. I'm talking about state-run driver license offices. Do you have one in Coconut Creek?
No.
There's one on Banks Road in Margate. Am I right? I've been there. It's not. I beg your pardon?
It's the one I go to.
Okay, it's not that far from you.
Nope.
It is an abomination what people have to go through in this state and in Broward County to get a driver license renewed. Has this issue, I realize you're a municipal official, you don't run the State Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, but do you hear about this from your constituents?
Absolutely. And what we're able to do in some capacities is you can get the driver's license bureau to come do some of the satellite renewals and the satellite title changes, and the city's routinely involved on that cycle, just so you can try to help facilitate that. But you're absolutely right. People are getting there at 3 a.m. to wait in line. And it's also crazy because you go to different parts of the state and you could walk in the same day. So it's an undermanned resource. We need more offices down here that are staffed efficiently. We have those in other parts of the state due to population concerns. We don't have them here.
Okay. The clock is becoming a factor. So I'm going to say I really appreciate your participation, both of you. I'm going to let you each make a closing statement of about 1 minute. Ms. Newkirk, please be mindful of the clock. But, we're constantly looking at videos of candidates nights and things like that, and it's not unusual to have the moderator say you've got 30 seconds or you've got a minute. So I'm going to try to say keep it to a minute. And Ms. Newkirk, I'm going to let you go first because alphabetically I think you're going to appear first on the ballot on March 11th. Give us your best case as to why you're the best candidate in this race. Go ahead.
Well, I'm the best candidate for the race because I can reach out to any official on the local, state, and federal level. I found myself reaching out to a lot of officials regarding already the Monarchs landfill expansion prior to the meetings. I included several resolutions that they can look over to see which one is best. I'm a fair person. I put the citizens first. My doors, if elected, my doors will always be open. I always have an open ear to whatever the citizens have to, talk to me about. I'll definitely be able to have resources available for the citizens to come to the city hall, and also have a resource table where they can have direct contact to all the entities in social services department, down to veteran affairs, down to family success, in which we already had a meeting with the director at Hope, South Florida, myself, where if elected, I'll be able to come in. I'll be able to get the citizens the resources that they need faster than them going to, calling a 1-800 number. And I'll definitely be able to get more small economic development business workshops in the community.
That's a good minute. I'm sorry to interject there, but Ms. Newkirk, thanks very much. Josh Rydell, a minute closing statement.
Absolutely. It has been the pleasure of my life to represent the residents of Coconut Creek. And that's what I say. I don't represent the city of Coconut Creek. I represent the residents of Coconut. ETA get the soundstage that they need at their health and wellness fair that just happened at their school to help our students and our kids and our youth. That means helping promote our parks and recreation programs. To me, I coach 2 girls basketball teams in city rec sports. My kids go to school here. My wife is a teacher in our community. I love this city, and I continue to do everything I can for our residents and for our community. And I would like to hope that when people are watching this interview, they're willing to continue to put their trust in me, They're going to give me their vote on March 11th because I am respectfully asking for it. And I promise you, the residents of Coconut Creek always come first. I've let everyone know my cell phone number, 954-856-8015. Call me, text me. I am here to work for you. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts, my vision, and to continue to work for the residents of the city.
Okay. Josh, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Josh Rydell and Felicia Newkirk, candidate in District E in the city of Coconut Creek. Best of luck. We'll see you on March 11th. Thanks.